Looks like we're live. All right. Today, right now, this minute, in your face, I'm going to explain to you some of the top ways that your mind can play tricks on you. This is endemic to those of us who are or who seek to be self-made. If you do work that requires you to be self-propelled, this whole business of the tricks that our mind plays on us, you have to know about it. You have to have a handle on it, because it will absolutely pull a Tonya Harding on you and just hamstring you right when you think things are going good. And so, again, thought I'd talk a little bit about some of the clever ways that our mind can play these tricks on us. So it won't be news to you that our minds don't want us to grow and expand and succeed and thrive. They don't really want that. What they want is for us to be safe. Now, fortunately, we have the ability to override that. We have the ability to make choices about what we actually want. But habitually, our minds just want to keep us safe and warm and fed. That's really what they want to do. Is it an oversimplification? Yeah, perhaps to some extent, it's a little bit of an oversimplification, but it's accurate enough to help you understand why your mind would play tricks on you, right? You've probably heard this before, but our minds don't want us to go out and explore the tall grass where the big predators live. Our minds want us to stay in the cave where we know it's nice and safe. Problem is, all the rewards, all the good stuff that life has to offer is out in that tall grass where the big predators are. And so you all know about imposter syndrome. You know about it as the voice in our head that tries to cut us down and keep us kind of contained and keep us from doing anything stupid. But I'm wondering if you really know how imposter syndrome can work. Because I'm someone who, many years ago, I recognized this sort of inner dialogue. It used to be called inner dialogue, by the way. We didn't always call it the imposter syndrome. I'm somebody who recognized the destructive tendencies of my inner dialogue, the limiting tendencies of my inner dialogue. And I did a lot of work in order to overcome that. And in fact, I got to the point where I could almost always catch that little negative voice. And after catching it, challenge it, and then move forward. And that's what you have to do, by the way, when the inner dialogue, the imposter syndrome, shows up as the narrative in your head. What you have to do is first recognize it. Second, challenge it. And for me, for years, this was a matter of saying, hold on, wait, I'm not sure this is true. I don't believe this. I just caught myself saying or thinking this thing, but I don't believe it. Hey, Juliet. So that's the 101 level of how to deal with the negative self-talk, the imposter syndrome, the inner dialogue. You got to recognize it, you got to challenge it, and then you have to act in spite of it. Number one, that's the first level. Here's the thing they don't tell you, kids. When you get good at that process, and you'll know you're getting good at that process because you won't be as bogged down by inaction anymore. You won't be as bogged down by inaction as you were. And so when you get good at that process, two things happen. One positive thing, again, you're not bogged down as much, so you're moving forward more quickly. You're moving into action on the things you want to do more quickly, less hindered by that sort of fearful tendency. Here's the other thing. That imposter syndrome doesn't go away. What it does is it changes the nature of how it shows up inside of you. And this second level is very, very hard to catch. Because what will happen is your imposter syndrome will show up, but as a pulse of negative emotion connected to an image in your mind. So in a very real way, for the most part, the words go away. And the words are what make the sort of first level of imposter syndrome easy to wrap your head around and your hands around, so to speak. So when it's the words, when it's your actual voice in your head talking about how you can't do this and that and you shouldn't and here's the reasons why and blah blah blah, that with a little bit of practice and a little bit of vigilance, that one's fairly easy to bring to heal, bring under your control. This other one is much more sinister. It's much more insidious because literally it can just pop up, affect you, and disappear. Whereas the voice part, the narrative, the inner dialogue is always going. This deeper level it's kind of like the equivalent of being punched in the back. Like, hey, Rachel, thank you so much. And I will see you within the program in just a little while. But this other level of imposter syndrome is like if you've been walking down the street and someone snuck up behind you and just boom, right in the back of the head. It's very hard to catch. It's more impactful too. Like it has a bigger impact on your confidence and it influences your self-doubt even more than the level of words. So now, how can we start to identify and work around and get through that second level? First of all, you have to recognize that it's a thing. So you've got to say to yourself, all right, I'm looking for this thing that is going to be very hard to find. And in the beginning, what happens is you only find it after the fact, right? You may have been gearing up to do something that was out of your comfort zone and then just sort of not done it. The part that you're not aware of is that you had a series of those negative emotions along with images. And the images are typically images of you failing, images of things you don't want to come to pass. And they're associated with a strong burst of really what amounts to cortisol and adrenaline. And therein, my friends, lies the secret to discovering it, because cortisol and adrenaline leave traces in the body. Now, here we go. We just took a sharp left turn and we're getting deep now. Cortisol and adrenaline tend to show up in the rib cage as a tightness and a tingliness, or they show up in the gut. And so the pulse comes, whoom, and then it's gone. But the after effects are that the adrenaline, the cortisol, the epinephrine still have to work their way through your nervous system. This is interesting for me because even as I'm saying this to you out loud, it is causing a response right now in my body of the cortisol, epinephrine, and adrenaline. And I think of the ACE acronym: adrenaline, cortisol, epinephrine, ACE. And I can feel a little bit of it as I talk about it. So why can I feel it as I talk about it? And why does this even happen? Well, you're actually going deeper into the amygdala. You're going deeper into your fight or flight response. That's why this happens. So there are layers, right, to that self-protection system, and it's all comes from our which some people call our reptilian mind, our lizard mind, or monkey mind. I've heard it called. It's basically more primal. It's the back part of the brain here that deals with fight or flight. It deals with survival. It deals with things like that. When we are able to sort of get a handle on the first part, the part that is literally physically more developed and closer to the front of our brain, then the fight or flight responses move deeper into the to the amygdala, which is further back. So you get what used to be conversation with yourself turns into these really sort of intense pulses of adrenaline, cortisol, epinephrine. And the pulses are attached to these images that they'll be of you not achieving the thing you want to achieve, or losing something important, or just basically not succeeding in what you set out to do. And again, it's very hard to identify these in the moment, but they leave a cascading feeling of adrenaline in your body. And that's how you can start to identify them. Yeah, I've got a few minutes left, but that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. And I'm sharing this with you today because yesterday for me was just it was just a hard day, and there was really no external thing to point to that would explain why it was so hard. And so I just got done journaling just before I jumped on here, and in the journaling, what I was talking about with myself was how, you know, it's silly to expect all days to be like good. It's just not realistic. But it's useful to have tools for when the bad days come. And so I was thinking about, well, what tools do I have? And I wanted to share this tool with you, these two tools. First of all, is the more superficial level of imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome I bring up because it can make you have a terrible day. It literally can. It can change your mood, make you feel like not doing things. And I was reflecting on the stories I was telling myself yesterday and how just totally disconnected from reality they were. And that, of course, is a sign that you're all in the fight or flight and you're dealing with your imposter syndrome. And then from there, I started to think about what happened for me when I more or less got a handle on that sort of superficial level of imposter syndrome. And it was this awareness that it still shows up, and it shows up in these pulses of adrenaline, cortisol, epinephrine that are sort of attached to an image that just flashes in our mind, and it's a negative image. And they come and go very quickly, but they can totally derail your focus. They can totally derail your work, and they can totally derail your optimism. And left unchecked, they can keep you in a state of not doing anything because you're just dealing with these things that you can't see. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope at least one of you comes back to me sometime in the future and says, thanks for that, because that was helpful. Anyway, I'm having a much better day today. I'll see you guys when I see you.